I can't look back, it's too late now. My days are hours and I don't know how, but I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm done.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the 100th Breakfast Ball. I can't believe we've gotten here, but 100 episodes in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your interest. Today, in honor of the 100th, again, I'm at the lake house, so you can probably see the snow out in the background. Again, another frigid, cold day here in the Northeast. It looks like it's going to get to 50 maybe on Monday of next week. So let's hope that happens. But today's show is why are you listening to others? It's an interesting topic. So I'm shouting out this one to Luke Canino, who started with me but was about yay high. By the time he was done his high school career, he won the state championship and won the Carl Arena, which is the largest high school golf tournament, I believe, east of the Mississippi River. Hundreds and hundreds of participants. So Luke came back, he's in college now, came back to work with me recently. And obviously, since he's not anywhere near me right now, he was working with another instructor, which is fine. I understand if I'm not readily available. I'm not vain enough to think I am the only guy on the planet. But he started listening to another instructor and teammates, and things started going a little bit sideways. And the basic conversation was that he played his best golf when he and I were working together, which makes me feel wonderful. You talked about a drill that another instructor gave him, where you pass a alignment stick in your belt loops, and you come in. You don't want to hit the alignment stick. But anyway, it's a great drill. I've used it myself. I've seen it before. But for those of you who watch this podcast all the time, I always talk about what a fundamental is. And a fundamental to me is something that you have to do. And some of the stuff, guys, you don't have to do. Like we talked about, Nicklaus and Watson bent their left arm a little bit. And I went on to tell Luke, I could put Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, Phil Mickelson, Gary Player, Ben Hogan, all out at 100 yards. And from 100 yards away, I could tell who each player was just by the way they swing the golf club. Meaning the differences between them was so noticeable that, a trained eye could easily tell who each player was from 100 yards away. So they all have certain idiosyncrasies in their golf swings that make them them. And there was a commercial Arnold Palmer did, I think it was for Dick's Sporting Goods, years ago before he passed, was swing your swing. And one of my favorite expressions when I work with a student is, dance with the girl that you brought. I mean, certain body types, certain restrictions, certain hand sizes, all dictate a slight nuance of difference in what you're teaching with. And I found a lot of the students I've worked with today, they'll go online or they'll work with a specific instructor, and they'll talk about their exact theory. I've been truly blessed in the aspect of when I was growing up, on our golf school staff was one former PGA Tour pro, and then we worked with Tom and Dick Smith, who Dick Smith went on to become the president of the PGA of America. Frankie Carmen, who was the PGA Teacher of the Year. My father, who in addition to being a golf pro, had his doctorate in education. So, I sat around at Robin Sutton. He used to write the article for the Courier Post magazine in our area, the golf article. I got to hang out with a lot of really, really good golf minds. And what I did is I stole a little bit from him, a little bit from her, a little bit, and I formulated my own opinion. And the truth of it is, guys, is a fundamental is something that you have to do, okay? And not everybody swings the golf club the exact same. For those of you who ever seen Arnold Palmer finish, no one would teach that finish, okay? So then we started talking about the path, Rory McIlroy comes from the inside more than a lot of other players do. And if you ever watch Sergio Garcia, the way he drops it and loops it into here, I mean, I can name some great players that would have broken the medicus. I can name some great players who would have hit this, and even like the interlocking, overlapping, and 10-finger grip principles. I've talked about all of those at great length with my students. I can name players that have won major championships with any one of those 3 grips, right? Whether it be the overlap, the Varden grip, the interlocking grip, or the 10-finger, right? Art Wall, Bob Rosberg both won majors with 10-finger grips. It can be done, okay? Do I advocate that? No, I basically advocate it based upon hand size and hand strength of which direction I go with that. But there's certain things that you have to do, and there's certain things that they recommend that you do. So the bottom line, after Luke and I had this great conversation, is, Luke, I want you to swing your swing, but within the parameters of what I consider to be fundamentals. Things that you have to do as opposed to things that like people suggest that you do. Okay, and again, I mean, there's players out there who've taken large divots. There's players that have taken out more shallow divots. I mean, it's hard to say. Hogan, if you ever watch Hogan's right elbow at the top of his backswing, it's very compact. Most people that have the elbow that close into the body come over the top. But then again, other than Mo Norman, Hogan is basically considered the greatest ball striker that ever lived. So the other thing that Luke and I talked about, which I saw a little light flicker on in his eye when I said it, is the mental damage that does also. I mean, if you win a state championship or you win the Carl Arena, you must be doing something right. It's what I call fight or flight. The second things start going wrong, you start falling back into things that feel comfortable. That's not always the right way to do it. And then, heaven forbid, you start listening to everybody else. And the funny story I tell everybody is, imagine, golf is truly unique because people feel the need to give you advice, at all times. And I always equate it to auto mechanics. Like, let's say my car was making a funny noise, or you told me your car was making a funny noise, and I said, oh, okay, Joe, your car's making a funny noise, huh? What works for me is I turn up the radio. Yes, that will solve the issue of the noise, but that's not curing the underlying problem. Right? Again, advice, and there are so many well-intended people out there who try to give you good advice, and that's fine. But let me tell you what, if you have something that's working, don't screw with it. Okay. Anyway, that gets back to my last story for this week is Frank Harmon. I was getting ready for a golf tournament a long time ago, and Frankie smoked his unfiltered Camel cigarettes, and he sat behind me, watched me hit golf balls for 10-15 minutes, and I was hitting the ball really well that day. And I said, Frank, I got this tournament coming up. What do you think I should be working on? And I still remember, he threw it, crushed his butt out on the ground and said, Bobby, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, again, there is more than one way to swing a golf club. If you're in a good mind frame, stay in a good mind frame, and you can't listen to what everybody says around you. That goes with life too, by the way, folks, just so you know. If somebody's not where you want to be, then don't listen to their advice. Anyway, have a great week, folks. If you like what we're doing, smash that subscribe button. I believe the merchandise is still on our website. If you need to reach me, it's at the South Jersey Golf Schools. And, like I said to Luke, right? You dance with the girl that you brought. Have a great week, folks. I'll talk to you next week.
Glass of bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. Alcohol. There's no great story ever started with, I'll have a salad.